am so excited about my panel of guests today. I know some of them very well. I've coached some of them I haven't even met before. One thing that has rung true over the years is my DMs blow up all the time from designers who are curious about how you have a baby and have a business. Now, it's no secret I have 3 children. My youngest child, Marley, was born smack bang in the middle of running Oleander and Finch interior designs. It was a really big concern of mine and a big decision of ours collectively as a family to have a 3rd child when the other 2 were slowly getting towards school age, and I knew that that would allow me some more freedom and flexibility in my business. It would allow me to revisit my ambition, but I always knew I wanted 3 children, so I was in this real push-pull, can we afford it? Now that I run my own business, what will happen to the P&L if I take a quarter off or more for that 4th trimester? Or many people who reach out to me, it's going to be their first baby, and with all pregnancies, there's so much unknown. We don't know, is baby gonna be healthy? Am I gonna be healthy? Is the birth going to be safe? Is it going to be okay? Am I going to need extended recovery time? You know, everything about birth is relinquishing control. Everything about motherhood is understanding that we can't map it out and you can't plan for it. And so these DMs that I was getting and continue to get all of the time are very much like this. Please keep this on the down low. We're not sure what we're doing yet. My husband and I are speaking about possibly having a baby, or my partner and I, or I myself am just thinking of having my own child. But I'm really torn and I'd really like to know your experiences. So today's episode has been born out of all of those conversations I've had over the past, well, how old's Marley? 4. So easily 4.5, 5 years of talking to people about having kids and running a business. And specifically, this episode is around pregnancy. I would like to recognize that that can be very triggering to a lot of people going through difficulties conceiving, through pregnancy loss. And so, warning for today's episode, if that's not palatable for you right now, if that's not comfortable for you, please just call back in next week and we'll talk more about business, marketing, and AI. But if you are someone who is one of those people that has sent me a DM or has always thought that they might like to hear a discussion, I think there aren't enough discussions in business around migrating family and business and planning for having children and having a successful business. So I hope that this conversation helps you to, because you can listen privately. You don't have to tell anyone you're planning a family, to be able to eavesdrop in on this wonderful conversation with 4 extremely generous designers who have agreed to do this. And I recognize as well that this is their personal life. This isn't their professional life. This isn't their business. So they have been extraordinarily generous in saying yes to talking about something that is very personal to them. So thank you to my guests. And I'd like to introduce them to you now. My first guest's name is Sarah from Sarah Dyer Studios. She's a dually qualified interior designer and architect. She runs her design firm in New Zealand. She has been in one of my courses. That's how I know Sarah. She has a very young child and one on the way. So Sarah is going to talk to us, obviously, from the perspective of introducing a second child into the mix. She'll have 2 under 3. So it'll be very, very busy. And what sort of changes have happened since having the first child. So she brings that wonderful perspective of someone who is already enjoying or exploring motherhood, enjoying or exploring. You can do both. Brings that beautiful perspective of somebody who's currently in the thick of motherhood and business already. The second person on my panel today is Eliza from Eliza Grace Interiors. Anyone who's listened to me interview Eliza in the past or has seen us going around at Decor and Design or like hanging out, we've been friends for a really long time. We started businesses. Her business is much older than mine. Her and I have had many, many business chats. This is the first time we get to have baby chats as well. So Eliza is expecting her first baby. And she has decided in her business to go on maternity leave and then return to operating her own business. So that perspective is really interesting as well. I can't wait to hear what concerns she had and how she locked in that decision. My third guest is a long-term student and coaching client of mine, Angie from Meraki Property Styling and Interior Design. She has 2 arms to her business. At this point, Angie is hoping to train up and sort of partially hand over whilst going on maternity leave and keep her business operating and keep her business running and then return. So I'm interested to hear how she came to that decision and whether that was, a no-brainer, something she was just definitely going to do from the get-go. And lastly, I am joined by Crystal from the Muse Society. The Muse Society is, again, property styling and interiors. Crystal comes at it from a different perspective. Again, this is not her first child. She has sold her business and taken on a role as the creative director inside of the business that she was formerly the founder of. So I can't wait to hear what made her make that decision and hear from her. She's incredibly knowledgeable about the property styling industry and business in general. So hearing from her around what her considerations were and what led to her specific decisions is going to be magical. So I'm not going to hold us up with the intro any longer. I'm going to throw to the conversation. If you have something to add to the conversation, please comment below if you're watching this on YouTube or email me, Rhiannon at oleanderandfinch.com. And let me know what you thought. Let me know what you're thinking. These conversations that I've had over the years in my DMs are always private. They're always respectful. I always will give you my honest take on whether you're overthinking things, holding yourself back. We're never really truly ready for kids. So the rest we just make up as we go along. So thank you again to all of my guests for your generosity, and let's get into the chat. Just a little context, I guess, is the majority of women that drop into my DMs or that I speak to or who might be listening to this episode really struggle with that decision as to when to pull the trigger on family. Like we never really feel ready to become mothers, or you're like, I could be more financially stable. But business throws a massive curveball to that because I don't know about you guys, but cash flow is not usually stability isn't the word that comes to mind. Like I don't really think about it like, yeah, that's fine. I can see what's ahead for the next 12 to 18 months and I can decide what to do. They just pop on in and they're like, when you had Marley, like, did you make any money that year? Like what actually happened? And so this conversation is so important to me because I think a lot of people who are on the fence or who are trying to decide what they can do can listen in private. Like listening to a podcast is so different than telling someone you might be family planning that you don't even know. With all that fear around timing and challenges around, no one talks about the money, no one talks about the feeling of responsibility to your business because most of us don't have staff. So some do, some don't. I'm going to kick off with Eliza. Eliza, when did you decide that you would sort of pause the business and continue rather than like opting to sell, closing it down? Like, did you immediately feel confident about that choice or you felt like you had no other choice? Or how did you come to the decision?
I feel like I just intuitively knew that I would want to take some time off to have the baby. I only actually recently decided, like in the past week, that it's going to be 6 months. Originally, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just take 3 and then I'll slowly come back. But I think I do really want to take that 6 months off in the business just to kind of find my feet as a mom. I just kind of thought that I have had my business for about 13 years now. So I just knew that coming back, I didn't really have any thoughts that it would be really hard or that like my business would be forgotten. Yeah, I just have the confidence, hopefully, that it should be fine coming back. And I'll still get clients. I'll still be able to work with plenty of people that I've worked with before. And I just think of it like if I was in a career, then I would be taking time off anyway.
Yeah, I love that. And when it's such an established brand in that area, you should be able to sort of lie dormant for a while and come back no matter what that is. And that can be health sometimes, it can be all sorts of things. I love that you felt prepared enough after 13 years to sort of go, well, not going anywhere. I mean, we don't know where the next job's coming from in 3 months sometimes, let alone like that break. It's really probably for some people more like financially led as to whether they can or they have to come back. So I love that. And I agree. Everyone will know who you are when you get back. Sarah, what about you? You're more at the beginning of your journey and not 13 years behind you. So was that a concern to you, or because you started and you've sort of already got a little one, you were just
Well, I think as I had the architecture side of my business, I was probably quite ready for a little bit of a shift in my business. So it was good timing for me. I put a break on the client work that I was doing. I had some main people that I worked for, and then I took a break. I didn't put any time limit on my maternity leave. I just thought I'll play it by ear. And I actually went back probably 6 weeks after having a baby, which I thought at the time was great. I had a baby that slept through the night and everything was rosy. And then a few weeks later, it all changed. I think that's the beauty with this sort of work. You can pick it up and slow down and pick up as many jobs as you like. You don't have to be full time or completely off. You can dabble and, slowly come back into it. So that was my approach. I'll slowly come back. And then that was when I was like, I'm going to really put my heart into the interior design side of my business, because I hadn't really pushed that very hard beforehand. So that to me was a good opportunity, almost like a bit of a refresh in my mind to come back and do something that really lit me up. Because I felt like if I was going to have time away from my daughter, I wanted it to be on jobs that I loved. I didn't want to be doing, just ones that didn't light me up. I felt like it was actually a really good step in my career because I could focus a little bit more. Like, yes, I took a bit of a financial hit, but I was able to come back stronger, I think, in my confidence in what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's so true. The 4-month sleep regression, you can just be like, no clients from month 4 till 6. And you've got a little bit more control and flexibility. Like, these are all positives that people don't always think about when you run your own business. You actually do get to say, oh, I just can't. I just don't think I have capacity for this, or I'm just not going to take the job. And knowing, again, that shift, once you have had that first child, you are fiercely protective of your time away from that child because you don't want to be away from them. So it starts to bring confidence into the yeses that you give. Like, you never give wasted yeses anymore. You don't just do things for the sake of doing them because you're like, well, no, because I just rather hang out with my kids. Like, I don't actually want to come around to your house and look at your job if it's not something that lights me up.
Yeah. It's also a good opportunity to see what's more profitable. I felt like it was, just
Focus on that because, yeah, you might as well do it and do it well and get paid properly. And when you're time tracking, it's different when it's just your time versus family time. So you almost value it more. It's easier to talk differently about profit and profitability when you have more at stake. Crystal, you sold the business just recently and stepped into a creative director role. So you're still within the business. Was that a hard thing to do when you run something and you're like you're the founder, you're the boss, it's yours, and then you sell it? How is that to be the creative director but not what you were previously?
To be honest, it wasn't how I envisaged it. I was prepared, like fully ready and prepared to cut ties. That was kind of the decision I'd made. Also, so yes, I've got baby number 2 on the way, but I also made a shift and moved 2 hours away from the warehouse 3 years ago. And so just logistically for me, it no longer made sense. And so I just went, yep, okay, I'm ready to sell. And the new owner and I just got along so well that it kind of just felt really good to both of us for me to stay around, which was really nice to sort of still be able to be support to the team as well, and still have that creative outlet to a certain degree, but just none of the stress that comes with it. As I prepared to be a mom of 2 and taking on my own projects, I wanted a shift. I was ready to work more with clients, helping them style their houses for living as opposed to styling for selling. I'd done it for 14 years. So it was honestly almost overnight that I just felt the need for change. So I can't believe that I'm actually still on board with the business, but I have been since October. So I sold it in October, and it's just felt really nice to sort of still be a part of it and still feel really valued within that business. And the new owner actually has 5 property styling businesses. It's just been a nice little change.
You design a lot more flexibility too when you know they want you there and they know why you didn't want to be there or the shift that you were looking for. Then they either give you that shift, which you get what you want anyway, or you're able to say, look, as I said, I'm not commuting 3 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours a day, come in all the time and that sort of stuff. So I think that would probably work in your favor too.
Yeah, definitely.
During the maternity leave, what are the plans? So are you doing a leave like you would from a job? Are you just taking a couple of months off? Are you taking a year off? Are you working through? What are your thoughts?
Well, look, I will probably do some little bits and pieces behind the scenes only because I've really realized, I think what I thought back when I wanted to sell the business, that it was the business that was keeping me busy. But then now that I've sold the business, I realize it's me that keeps me busy because I'm not really one to stop. But that's kind of just what feels good to me and
Yeah.
works. So I think I will just wait until Bubs arrives and see how I'm feeling and what I'm wanting to do then. I feel like there'll always be little things that I'm doing behind the scenes, whether that be with Muse or my own clients. I, I don't think I could fully stop. I think I'm so passionate about this industry that it that sort of keeps me going. And for my mental health personally,
Mm.
it just gives me so much purpose that for me, I can't really stop. It keeps me being me, which is really nice. And I've not gotten lost in sort of, being a mum and that being all consuming. For some people, that's all that they want. And I love that for them, but that just wasn't for me. And I'm really interested to see how I go this time around now having two little ones, where I sort of land. So I'm just, waiting for him to arrive in a few weeks and then I'll let you know how it goes.
It's such a valid comment. There's so many people that I speak to, especially business owners. There's only so much Miss Rachel and Blippy and all these things that you may not even be interested in yet, like that you can kind of handle as someone who's previously been juggling, putting out spot fires, running a business, like having all this ambition. Then all of a sudden it's sort of different. The day is different. You're just cutting a lot of snacks and, or not for one newborn, but like, yeah, if you've got other kids and other things going on. So I think a flexi brain is a really great brain to have in terms of like, we don't know till the other side. Let's see how we go, see what it's like, see what this little person's like, how much they need, how much they don't need, and kind of relinquish control, if you will. In the intro I was talking about, there's only one thing that you can be certain of is that you don't have control that anything to do with pregnancy, birth, and beyond. And so as business owners, and interior designers as well, we're quite controlling brains. Like we like to be the puppeteers and like be in charge, and you're not in charge of this. It's like laughable if you think that you have a say on how everything's going to go. It isn't like that. I think that flexibility is so good. Angie, was there any supports or systems that you really had to like get into place? What ducks did you have to get into a row to continue to run it, but step away, obviously, to have a baby and get sorted and enjoy that time?
Yeah, from the property staging side, interiors, I think we will just put on pause. I don't have the support there to keep it going. But that's okay because, 6 months off interiors, that can be just a booked out period. I don't even need to talk about my leave there. I can just say it's booked out. But with the staging side, that was hard because we have to obviously keep the relationship with the agent, and the agent knows you so well. So introducing a different staff member, bringing them to every single quote so the agent starts to get to know a new staff member, that they're okay and trust somebody else. Like a lot of the time with staging businesses, they love you, not necessarily that I couldn't care what my business name is or, what real stock I work with. It's more about me going in and speaking and talking to their clients. They have that trust with me. So trying to get them to trust some of my staff as well was definitely the pivotal thing, whether if that didn't work out, I couldn't see it staying open. But I've had a lot of success with that, which has just been down to having good team members and getting lucky with that. I think too, over the years, I've definitely hired ones that can't talk in front of clients or crumble under the pressure. So it's been just hiring the right people for sure. And having a standard operating procedures is it removes that layer of, instead of coming to me to ask questions, they can go onto our Trello board and look at anything in there that they may need to find, whether it's rates for quoting, any additional rates, things like that, that it just can all be written in one spot and they don't need to come to me for it.
Thank you to past us for working on the SOP master library.
The only other thing that actually freaked me out all the time that I always thought of, I was picturing myself being in labor, being like, what do I do when agents call me? So I finally worked out on that one to get a company phone number and how that works and how you can divert it to different, so that having those kind of systems set up have really helped me calm down and hope for the best. I guess you don't know for sure. Like I don't really know until I fully step out whether it's going to flow and work, but I think I'm just open to instance of if it doesn't work out and we do have to close for a little while, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like, you've put as much into place, again, with the control thing, you put as much into place as you possibly can, and then you reassess, effectively, depending on the hours of labor, those are only the true, like, cut-off hours. You cannot be contacted whatsoever. And then outside of that, if you, and obviously not saying to the staff, like, oh, yep, I'll be back tomorrow on the calls, but like nothing will go wrong in your business that you couldn't be across or that someone couldn't like ask you anyway. So not those little questions for standard procedures, but something massive. I think that's the thing that we worry about, that control when you let go. It's like, oh no, but what if they do? What if they don't? Like you don't really know.
Yeah, yeah. And it's I think it's also like now starting to get them used to, so obviously I'm here, so they ask me because I'm standing here right in front of them, but trying to get them used to not coming to me for really anything and seeing if they can work it out on their own before coming to me first.
Yeah.
Which a lot of the time they can. It's just the
Habits. And when you're not there, they
physically.
won't look for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
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 And what about the financial sort of side of things? When you do sit down and think about it, when it's your own business, you're like, oh, that whole running tap gets switched off. Like there's no cash flow, nothing's coming in. There's still expenses. I'm imagining there's still subscriptions, there's still things. Even when you run a really lean business, there's still outgoings in that time that that there's no incoming, and the flow on effect that has. Has anybody done anything interesting to increase pricing before falling pregnant, or thinking about, like, some of you may have planned for 2 years and been like, these are my earning years, and then, or building in like a bit of a maternity buffer, or, yeah, just knowing how to calculate what you need, or are we all just going, we'll just sort it out later?
I started adding prior to the leave. This was with my daughter, my first. I did start adding an extra $100 to each quote. That was something that when I was working with a mentor at the time, they'd suggested, and it was just like, well, if they're willing to pay X, they're willing to pay an extra $100 on that, and then increase that, because that was probably one way that I was looking at it was like, okay, yes, I can keep my business going, and I'll get the mat leave payments, but then that mat leave payment, I'm going just paying to put on a staff member. And I was kind of like, is that, how worth it is that? And that was kind of the way that I was able to create just that little bit of a buffer. I feel like I ended up, it was pretty much about $200 that was going on extra, at least for each job. And I have tried to do that within everything that I've done within the business. So if I have upgraded our systems, so I used Dubsado as our platform for quoting and that sort of thing. Like every upgrade that I did, I'd sort of start absorbing that within the cost. Every staff member that I put on doing the same sort of thing. And that's kind of the way that I've continued to build up my prices as well, and to make sure that profitability is still there.
Yeah, that maternity leave thing is such a important thing to factor in. I remember when I had Marley, I sold gift certificates for 6 months while I was pregnant that could only be redeemed inside of my leave. So I was not getting income during that time, but I was working on pre-sold income kind of. So, just thinking outside the box, like, okay, well, I'm not allowed to earn whilst I'm also on paid maternity leave with the government. So I'm not allowed to earn a cent. I get that. But I probably can't have 6 months off, but I could probably have 3 solid months, just me and baby, and like no work and no whatever. And then I could probably have 3 months that were open to booking some of those gift certificates, some available slots to do some work. So has anyone else done anything to prepare financially in that way?
I did, yeah. I had a deep dive into my Xero and looked at all my subscriptions and everything. And then I just pretty much calculated how much I needed for the subscriptions. And I just, as a bulk number, made sure I had that sitting in my business waiting. So I just knew I was covered for 6 months. And then I had the 6-month maternity leave pay. So I just knew I was fine for that. And if I wanted to go back early, that was fine, and which I did end up doing. And I did get paid in that time, but I just didn't pay myself out of the business. So my business technically made money, but I didn't pay myself until 6 months. And then I was able to drip feed, which actually worked out a lot better for me because I could slowly pay myself again.
It's
Yes.
interesting how we look at things differently. Like I know women who've come back and they've selected certain days of the week that they no longer are available. I don't do Fridays. I've always had Wednesdays with Marley, or like being a bit more, again, protective of your time, or understanding like, okay, well, I can get daycare on these days or kindergarten on these days or whatever it is. And then this is just a block out for me. I think your boundaries are a little bit stronger once again when you come back, and it's about protecting family time and having that extra experience with them as well. Has anyone changed the way they view their business since being pregnant? Like by the time, once you are actually pregnant, Eliza, you're smiling there. Do you see it differently, sort of, or through a different lens slightly?
Yeah, like I think for so long my business has been like, apart from obviously family, friends, husband, the business has been like a huge priority in my life. But it's just nice in a way that it's kind of shifted a little bit, so that, yeah, I just have this other huge thing that I'm about to become, like becoming a mum and having a baby. It like the business seems very important still, but it just kind of makes you realize that you don't have to be so in the business all the time, and it's not the most important thing in the world. So that's kind of been nice to think about.
The productivity shift is always the thing that gets me. I've always said if I was ever to hire anyone, I'd hire a mum, because they can do for me in 2 days of work what a non-mum would do in 2 weeks of work, because they know they have to get it done and I've only got the 2 days, and they're just so much more productive. And after my first child, I remember being like, I was so lazy. Like, I was just so lazy all the time. I wasn't. I was highly ambitious. I worked in like senior leadership in a corporate role. Like I was working 60 hours a week. After I had Atticus, I was like, probably could have just gone in 20 hours a week and done that, to be fair. Like I just was stretching it out because I didn't know what it really looked like to have to jam pack all this activity into minimal hours in the day. So I think that's a nice little bonus, is it runs, I want to say it runs more easily, but there's something about the way your pistons fire in your brain changes, and so everything becomes a little bit more easy for you.
And it's made me think about coming back from maternity leave, that I can fit quite a bit of what I do into less days, because I don't think I want to come back 5 days a week. I'm thinking like 4, maybe even 3 to start with, but I know that I could fit probably just as much work I'm doing now into those days. Because, yeah, there's definitely times throughout the day where I could be so much more efficient, and I'm kind of enjoying that for now. I'm just taking advantage of it while I can, but knowing that next year I'll have to be much more efficient within those days.
It's also underrated how much babies are just slugs on a rug. Like they don't move. You put them down, they are where they are till they're on the move. They're where you put them last. You can watch them. You can watch a TED talk and watch a baby. You can kind of micro learn, do things. There's no pressure to do that. By all means, just walk around with no shirt on, cuddling babies all day long. That's so fine. But if you want to, like Krista was saying, you can do stuff. Like babies don't stop you from moving forward, from getting other education, doing a course, doing like there's so much that you can do if you want to keep busy. Does anyone experience any, and you might not have it yet if it's your first baby, because mum guilt just comes flooding in like 8 seconds after you have one, but maybe not beforehand. But does anyone feel that sort of stretch? Because I know I sometimes feel guilty about wanting to be, wanting to have a successful business, wanting to have we can't always have it all. We juggle so many glass balls, and you struggle a lot with guilt. Is it guilt about stepping back from the role, or guilt for continuing and not stepping back, or all of that sort of stuff? Did any of those feelings come up for anyone when planning the first or subsequent babies?
100%.
Yeah. Sarah, it's like, I'll go first. Yes, I did.
Yeah, I feel like this has been a strong one for me. There were weeks there, it would almost be daily. I'd be flipping, like when you're with the baby and I'm thinking like, oh, I've got something due. I really need to get some work done. But then you just want to spend all your time with her and, make sure she's okay and actually hang out with her and not just make sure she's fed and slept and then put her down. You want to spend that quality time as well. There's definitely a real internal struggle. I know a lot of my friends have that too in every industry. I think it's just blanket for every mum, isn't it? I don't know if there's ever really such thing as true balance. You just have to gauge it daily, really. Yeah.
You definitely feel like you can be excellent at work and terrible at home, or excellent at home and terrible at work. Or then there's even seasons in my business where I felt like I'm failing on both accounts. Like I'm like, oh my God, not even, I'm not even like an excellent business owner and a crappy mum and an excellent mum and a crappy business. I'm just crappy on both. I've brought no energy to either things this week. And I think recognizing it's like tomorrow is another day, a new day, another possibility to tip those scales because yeah, we do feel like that all the time. And that's super normal and supernatural. And I wish I knew the answer so that we didn't have to feel like that because it's not okay to carry all of that because really what we do as business owners is extraordinary before and exclusive of also parenting and also mothering, which is a different kind of parenting and birthing and all those sorts of things. So we do this incredible job and yet we just feel crap about it all of the time. So it's yeah, I don't have any answers. I'm not a wizard.
I will say that's when the time management skills really shine. Because if you have a baby that was sick, my girl was sick all last week, and it just threw me into a tiz because I had so much work to do. So that's where being a mum is, that mum brain you were saying, hey, you can just get so much more done because you realize you have to be hustling all the time. Otherwise, just something can throw you like a sickness, and then all of a sudden you're like completely out, and then you just feel even more guilty in every area. So yeah, I feel like it's a hustle.
Mm.
One thing that I really found, and for me, when I had Edie, my business was still quite new. And so it was, really needing me still in the background a lot. I had the most phenomenal team on, but there was still a lot that I was doing. And then even once I come back, but I made sure that so for me, I had 2 days at home with Edie. And I just made sure that I was so, so intentional with that time. And I felt that I was actually better on those 2 days being a mom than what I would have been, being that month full time because I knew that this was the only space and time that we had together. And that helped my mum guilt a lot, just knowing that on those days, when she was awake, when she was asleep, absolutely. I was just like straight back into my emails on Instagram, doing all the things. But when she was awake and it was our time, the phone was, nowhere to be seen. And that always made me feel better. My team knew that on those days that I was at home with her, that yes, I would absolutely be contactable, but there'd be a bit of a delay, most likely in my contract. And it was never an issue. Like it was, they always worked it out. So
I hard agree with that. I don't think I did that well until probably Marley's second year. And then I had Wednesdays with Marley and they are non-negotiable. I hold the boundary. Every person that messages me is like, I know it's a Wednesday and you're with Marley. Don't get back to me till tomorrow. Like you almost just train everybody. People are nodding. There are people on this call who have sent me messages going, I know it's Marley's mummy day. Like don't get back to me or whatever. And it does make you feel better because you're like, we're story time, we're swimming, we're on the floor playing Legos. Like I'm not going to pick up the iPad. Nothing comes out of the studio. All the computers stay in here. Everything work related is out here, and I don't go anywhere near it. And this year has been my first year where Aiden, my husband, is doing Marley Wednesday. So he's taken Wednesday. He's only working 4 days as a teacher, and the Wednesdays he's going to swimming lessons. And Marley's still like, is it a mummy day? Do I get a baby chino? Like he just hasn't even flicked to daddy day. It doesn't really matter. It almost built his expectation too, so that he knew there was going to be one single day. It does make you feel like it does soften that guilt a little bit because when I had the business in the early days when you're all about it, I think Atticus was 2.5 and Banjo was 6 weeks old. And I'd, try to do a mood board and they'd be grabbing the stylus and, breastfeeding and one climbing in your hair. Like it was like having baby monkeys all over you. And you would every day put them to bed and feel bad, even just for reading an article on business or trying to get better, like trying to grow your business or do something. Always felt like it was time away from there. So I think that you girls are so lucky to have so many strategies in place and all of you to be in a place in your business where it's not something you're trying to do alongside having a baby. Like it's almost like you've kind of got the foundations in place at least, if not like very structured supports in place so that you can work on what Krista was saying, which is just like, then it's just about protecting that energy, that time, getting good boundaries, being able to say, I'm with the baby and I'm not with you. I have a random open question. In fact, I'd love to hear everybody's opinion on this. If you could speak to a designer who's delaying having a child because they think that their business isn't ready, or many of us had lots of thoughts beforehand, what would you say to someone who's like, I don't know what to do because I run a business, I also want a family, I just don't know when is the time to go Do you have any advice that you can share, Crystal? I'll go with you first.
It always works out in the end. Honestly, it does. And as you were saying, it's like it is those hours of labor, like those are the hours that, okay, no one's contacting you. Outside of that, there's so much that you can build and have the right supports and that sort of thing in place, and you're still able to be there in the background. And there's so much that you're able to do from that position. I know that I definitely held off. Not like I feel like the perfect amount of time, to be honest, because the business was two when I had my daughter, and I built a team and all of that sort of thing, knowing and preparing for having that baby. By the time that I had her, the business was, running great without me being there. I know, and honestly, I've had so many stylists come to me knowing that I am going to have another bub, how I've navigated that. And I've had plenty of people that do property styling, and this is styling properties for sale, that have completely stopped their businesses that really could have continued going without it. Um, I'd love to see more of that, because I know that it's out of fear as well. I worked really hard on putting all of the foundations in place, and my business went swimmingly without me being there. It really can be done. So it's so much harder when it's an interiors business that it is solely you. That's a completely different ballgame. But for me, having a property styling business that was, styling homes for sale, I knew that there was a way to have that continue on. And there's going to be problems, but they're all work throughable, and I just think it always works out in the end.
That makes me laugh because I'm thinking of property styling and like first trimester pregnancy. And I'm thinking, mate, I would give that business up on the 3rd week of being pregnant. I'd be so tired. If you asked me to come around in first trimester, like I just want to go to bed. Why on earth would I want to be here at 7 o'clock at night vacuuming someone's windowsill? Like, unsubscribe. But I know what you mean, and I love that advice. It does all work out in the end. Things that feel hard are possible, and it's just planning, isn't it? And structure, and like knowing what you're actually planning to do. Like making the decisions is the hardest part. Angie, you were just saying before, I've only just I've ummed and ahed. Do I do it? Do I don't do it? Do you have any advice for someone who's been holding off or wondering if they sort of pull the trigger on having a family and a business?
Yeah, I guess off the back of Crystal, it's as much as I'm such a planner and all boxes have to be ticked before I can even think about the next step. But I think actually being in it, you can't plan for what's going to ever happen in business. Like if I looked back a year ago, I was 100% ready to step into this phase, but the staff I had then, we were ready to go. But things have shifted, things have changed, suppliers have changed, staffing's changed. You think that you're all ready and set up to go, but things can change anyway. And like, even when you're on maternity leave, somebody could leave that's a key part of your team, and you still got to be able to make those decisions of whether, do I want to keep going without that person? Am I happy to rehire that position? Like, it depends on, I just don't think that any time's the right time to be like, oh yeah, now it's all going to work out and everything's going to flow without me, because things can just change so quickly. Like, especially in a young female industry, because it's quite physical. There's so many pregnancies pop up. I've just been told this morning of 2 different pregnancies just within the little team that we work in. And it's
the whole team that you put in place could get pregnant while you are too. And then you're like, well, there goes my maternity plan. Like now I've got 6 pregnant people and they're just going on their own leaves at different times.
Yeah. And then obviously we work with the real estate industry. If the real estate industry is slow while we're away, like retaining those staff, like it's just so many things can change as much. So what I'm getting at is, as much as you plan, things can change anyway. So it's never just going to be the perfect time. I think that if you just do it when you're ready and your family's ready and you're financially ready or your heart's ready or whatever that is for you, and then work out the business stuff, because it's almost better to work it out closer to knowing that you've just worked it out in the 6 months lead up to you going on maternity leave. It's most likely not going to change if it's only just been put in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something
rather
that
than having a 5-year strategy. And that's not even like there is a trigger warning at the start of this episode. It's not even taking into consideration trying to conceive. You could be putting something into place and it's not easy for everybody. It's not something that people should take for granted. And sometimes, you might go, right, I'm going to get the business into this right place so that I can go and have a family. And that family might not happen to you or for you for 5 years or no years. Like you actually don't know what we're getting into. And I've always been a big believer, like you could just step into the bathroom, get those 2 lines just as easily as you can sort of plan for them, and then what you do after that is kind of what matters to the business because you can't that timing is never exactly as you want it.
Yeah, I think too, having your SOP is really in order. That's probably the main thing. Like just making sure that, from day dot when you start the business and as your operating procedures change, making sure that you're keeping those up to date. Because I think that's the biggest thing, being able to have that to be able to have your staff go to as you put people on. That's probably half of it. I
Yeah.
really think. I mean, that's something that I think everyone should be doing in their businesses from day dot anyway. Just because, if you have a starting business, it can make sure that, if you do want to sell the business later on down the track, like you've got the amount of styles that I, have spoken with that want to sell their businesses and then haven't even done any of that yet. I just like, yeah, that's just something that should be a non-negotiable and should be done. And really, that's honestly half of it. As long as you've got all of those ops there for people to be able to go to and for you to, when that time comes, I would absolutely wait until you are sort of I mean, it's nice if you can have someone through that first trimester. If there's someone there that you do have on, that made life much easier for me this time around because I was not well. I didn't have that when I had Edie. But yeah, hiring after that first trimester, I think that's a good time and allows, your agents and that sort of thing to bond. The main thing, if you can have your SOPs in order, and that's the main thing that you'd focus on beforehand.
The SOP thing, Angie, we worked together on yours, and I have a GPT, like an AI assistant that writes them. And her name is Eden, and she is for sale on my website. But honestly, they are boring as batshit to actually sit down and it's like data entry to go through. And I love the idea that you can get this support where you can just sort of have it drafted up and then you verbalize what is not fitting for your business. Like we don't do step 2 and 3. Actually, we do it like this and just whip it up. Like you've got AI now. There's no reason that you need to feel like you have to sit and trudge through. This actually isn't a boring or horrible exercise. It's an exercise in the relief you feel at the end when your master library is like 132 SOPs that are just customized to what your actual business needs. There's this relief because I feel like for the first 5 years of my business, it was just something I knew I had to have and I would never have time to do. So I just kept feeling like, I know if I got hit by bars, Aiden wouldn't even know how to log into my computer, let alone who to call. And I felt pressure from that. So when the library was like completely good to go, no, it's not just obviously it's great for an exit strategy if you want to sell. It's a hugely valuable asset to be able to sell your business, but it's great just from the perspective of like hiring. Okay, well now we have an operations library, so you don't have to ask me all the questions. You can go search for it, go find the answers, and that's how you teach that autonomy that you guys are talking about. I don't want them coming to me all the time. You've got to get this stuff out of your head as a business owner and put it somewhere that they can go that doesn't rely on you. Eliza, what would you tell someone who is working on the right time?
Yeah, so the girls made some really good points if you have like staff, but I think it's a little bit different if it's just yourself. It's probably slightly easier in a way because sometimes you are just booked out 3 months, 6 months in advance. So it's kind of, you can think of it in that way that people, because I think your biggest worry is that people are going to forget about your business, your SEO will go down, like your business will be forgotten. Whereas you just kind of have to think about like your website's always there, people can still inquire. Like you guys have mentioned, you can still pop on and reply to emails here and there. It doesn't mean the business is completely dead for, like, say, 6 months. Because I feel like when you run your own business, it's probably unlikely that you're going to take more than 6 months anyway. And you get that money from the government, which is super helpful because if it's just you, that can just go to your wage and all your expenses rather than having to go to staff. So it is a little bit easier in that way. Also, like planning for a family and starting to think about a family and falling pregnant, like you do get, as obvious as this is, you get 9 months to plan. Like once you fall pregnant,
Hmm.
then do all your research, you can put plans in place, you get all that time. Because I didn't like put off having a family for a long time, but I was just very business focused for years and years. So by the time it came around to actually starting to think about having a baby, there was a lot of research that I wanted to do, even about like pregnancy and having a baby and parenting and all that stuff and running a business. And you do get 9 months. I feel like you think that you fall pregnant and then suddenly your life just completely changes where you do get, a bit of time to put some systems in place. So
But it's too late once you're doing the research. Once you read the first chapter of what to expect,
Correct.
it's like, nobody told me that. What is this? It's a bit late once once you've already seen the 2 lines, you start researching, things can pop up that are surprising at best.
yeah, maybe start researching pregnancy slightly earlier, but the rest, you can figure that out later.
I really like that point though, because it brings up, Eliza, for interior designers and full service interior designers specifically, project timeline is a really big factor. Like, how do we present to clients? How do we all approach telling them that we're pregnant? What if you have a project that you've taken on that's a 2.5 year build and all of a sudden you want to start a family, or you are starting a family, whether you wanted that or not? Did that come up? I felt sometimes like, will clients feel I'm less committed to my business because I'm prioritizing bringing a third child and like closing it down a bit? Or like, have we all communicated that to clients, and how was that experience?
I kind of picked my longest, like the service that I knew takes the longest amount of time. So, like full service design. And usually that takes about 6 months ish from start to finish in terms of furniture decorating and putting things in place. I kind of worked backwards from there. So, knowing that I'm going on maternity leave in June. So, I'm going to have to stop accepting clients like that from like end of January. And then I worked out kind of what services have more of a shorter time frame. So like new builds, renovations, because a lot of the selections for interior designers are done up front and then the build works are done. That can take 2 years. So just working backwards on how long services actually take, I found really helpful.
Lucky again that you have that 6 month buffer, because there are some, depending on what services you offer, there are some offerings out there that are listening that are like, oh, I didn't think of project timelines. I better really start to think about that. But that's a really good approach, is to almost reverse engineer it, but also think like, okay, well, where can I put my marketing energy and effort into those smaller things so that I'm actually amplifying them more or speaking about them more than I normally would, so that I can get that quick turnaround and that quick win and that quick payday, really. Sarah, I skipped you before and I'm sorry. What would you tell someone who's thinking about whether or not to do it, to have babies, to have business if they can? What is your advice there?
Yeah, I think all the girls had great points. I'm not the biggest planner ever. I was quite keen to just start a family straight away after we got married. And yeah, I would say we jumped in and then planned afterwards. And like the other girls have said, it all works out in the end. It's really not that stressful. You have 9 months as long as you're communicating well with your partner and all your support network are there, and if you have a bit of a rough, clear plan on your maternity leave, I found it was helpful for me to have I felt 6 months was sort of my max. And then it was a bonus if I could go back early. So yeah, I think a lot of it does really come down to your support crew as well, and to make sure everyone's just uplifting around you. Because it does work out. Yeah, and newborns sleep a lot, so you can do a lot with emails. AI is great, even if you speak into into your phone, just brain dump what you want to say in your email reply, it'll polish it up for you. So you can do things super quickly now. You don't need to sit at your computer for hours. So yeah, I think there's little hacks and tricks of productivity. Yeah, I'd say it'll all work out, sure.
And I love that. It's so true. Sleep when the baby sleeps is the most ridiculous advice anyone ever gave anyone, because you don't sleep when they sleep. You don't sleep when they're awake. You just don't sleep. And it's not like feasible, because you want to fit, like Crystal was saying, but at the top of the call, you want to fit being a friend, a mum, a sister, a mum to your other child, a domestic goddess, business babe. Like, you want to do all these things. And you can only fit it into nap time if you're being protective about that other time with them. And that's too much to ask of anyone in terms of split focus. Just go gently with yourselves. And if you feel yourself watching a TED talk or talking into AI to get some brainstorm movement in your business and stuff. You just take it slowly and plan around. I worked late at night a lot in the beginning days because I had very young children. But when I had Marley, I was just too exhausted because I had 3 kids by then. Like, I was like, I'm not going to work at 1 in the morning. 1 in the morning is not an hour that exists in my life anymore. Like, I'm not partying. I'm with young kids. So I feel like being able to say, okay, well, like focusing in on when is my that like when we talk about different skills you might have and then talk about your zone of genius, it's almost like that within your 24-hour day. When is my zone of genius? I'm actively a good thinker between maybe 6:30 and 10 a.m. maybe. Like, that would be like my primary time. So if I wanted to do something work-wise, I will always prioritize that time slot and say to my husband, "You'd be with the kids if I went for a run," because I go for a run 3 times a week. But obviously, if I was pregnant or had a newborn, I wouldn't be doing that. So I'd be like, replace that same feeling of like you're in charge of the kids or I'm not here, and go out to the studio and do that work, or go find the time pocket in the day where you feel like you're going to get the most return on brain investment. So you're not using a lot of time. You're just kind of pulling it all into like, I'm going to do 90 minutes focused work twice a week. And for me, it would be like, I'm going to do it from 7 till 9:30 or whatever. And then just like, that's done. You've kind of done what you need to do without constantly checking in and doing little bits poorly and never being able to stay on topic and stuff. I feel like that makes you feel like you're running a hamster wheel more than you are, because you feel like you keep, oh gosh, yes, I've been interrupted on that thought, or I can't maintain things. So that focused work time, if you want to do any work time, is always, in my experience, a better way to do it, is just to put it all together. Any last comments or things that you'd like to share with our listeners, or you would like to add to the conversation?
No,
All
I think
good?
they were all really good questions. I think it was, I think such a good panel to have we're all in really different sort of situations. And I think that's where I was excited to chat to, because I was like, well, I've, been in one situation, having the business, having it been you, still needing me quite a lot doing that. And then this time around, I was able to have things. And I think just my priorities just completely changed this time around as well. Like, I feel like I've done the business thing, and now it's just like, okay, now I'm ready for something a little bit different now. But yeah, it's just nice that everyone's got like really different perspectives or more to bring to the table. That's been good.
Kind of what you said, Eliza, about looking at the business a little bit different in terms of triaging priorities. And it actually does feel really good when your business feels like fun and it feels simple, because you realize what's actually important to your, we live our ambitious years. And when I worked younger, and that was all I could think about, is climbing the corporate ladder and doing all of the things. But there comes a time where it's like, oh no, I get to run this business that I have alongside having 3 children, because I deeply love what I do and I'm really passionate about it, but I also can do it between 9 and 3 and nothing else. Like, and there's no more 3 a.m.s. There's no 2 a.m.s. There's no 1 a.m. I am in bed. I promise you. Like, I am asleep. And I love that for you guys, because when that, it's never balanced, but when it feels less friction, it feels less of a working on the business, growth, scaling, moving, ambition. But the other day I heard that Stephen Bartlett from Diary of a CEO was getting a fair bit of flack for saying, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. And it's like, no, Stephen Butler, we do not have the same 24 hours a day, because I guarantee you nobody comes to the toilet with you. And I guarantee you that nobody is physically drinking from your body. Like, I know that we have a different 24 hours in different seasons of our lives. And it's so great to be a mum and a business owner, and to get to show your kids what's possible, and to get to kind of do all of these incredible things. But you can also give yourself that grace that it's a really hard job, especially in the first year of a human's life. Like, that whole year is a bit of a cloud and a fog, and matrescence is coming for 2 of you. It's a mum puberty in your brain that's going to shift the perspective on everything. Like, I'd love to have a catch up chat in a year's time and be like, all the things I thought I knew, all that research, Eliza, in these 9 months. Like, it'd be really interesting to see if the reality shifts those feelings.
I'd love to know what stage everyone is at of their pregnancy, how many weeks everyone is. I'm 22 weeks for reference.
I'm done. We're so close.
Amazing.
It's the size of an orange.
I've probably got about 2 or 3 weeks left to go. I am about to part with
It's second is very interesting, isn't it? I had so much fear with the second child that there wasn't capacity for my brain to split and love two things as much as I loved one thing. And I can say I can love three things that much. So for anyone who's sometimes going, what if I don't like the second one? Hello to Banjo Oleander. If you are out there, I love you very much. You do love the second one just as much. And then the third, it's just, yeah. And also fronting up for birth when you've already done that one time is just it hits different to going in blind. Like it's a bit of a different feeling, I thought.
How old is your first one, Chris?
Five. Well, yeah, 5. And my second is due on her birthday, pretty much. So that's a bit of fun that we're navigating at the moment. And my sister and I are actually both due on the same day.
That's
Right.
great.
It's right wild. Yeah.
Crazy.
That age difference is really beautiful. Like Atticus will read to Marley, like going on a bear hunt and like can hold them while you run in and get a face wet. Like they're very actively helpful. Like 2.5 years, not helpful. Like, sorry,
Yeah.
Sarah, but that gap, not helpful. 2 in nappies. The older one does nothing. Like one's a slug, one's running around like the Tasmanian devil. Like they're not really as like that age difference is really nice having that 5 years where they've had just you as well. So they're really quite yeah, it's funny that it all works and it's all different, but I found like the 2.5 years of the first two, it was so nice when there was a 5-year-old and a newborn, because Banjo was 3 there was 3 years between Banjo and Marley, and Banjo was still side-eyeing everything like, "Why is that baby here?" Like, "I don't" "take it back to the hospital," like that kind of attitude, whereas the 5-year-old's excited because 'cause they've been aware what it means that you're pregnant.
Yeah, definitely. Look, to be honest, it was absolutely not a gap that we planned. This little guy just took a really long time to make his way to the world. But it's so funny the way that I feel like my motto in life has just always been, it just always works out in the end. I look at it now and I look at my daughter in the way that, like, last week she came home from kinder and she made him a rattle. And I was just like, oh, my heart. And every single night she just loves, I put her to bed every night at the moment because she just wants to be able to hold the belly and feel him moving and talk to him. And he's really reactive to her when she's talking to him, like he really kicks around a lot too. And I'm just like, yeah, if she was younger and not able to comprehend any of this, like I wouldn't be able to have this. So like, as much as it wasn't what I'd planned, I look at it now, I'm like, this is what was meant for us, for sure.
And then on the flip side, Sarah, to make you feel better, there's a thing that happens where like they go into different phases, like the school phase and other phases, and all of a sudden you're completely out of nappies, completely free, completely at the same, everyone's going on a family bike ride, everyone can come in the car and not like it's just sometimes nice too. There's pros and cons to both. I think that the age difference is, yeah, it just is however your family makeup is.
And the beauty
I
is
feel like this is going to hit me like a ton of bricks. I've forgotten everything.
It's good because you don't want to apply the same thing. What you knew the first time is different the
Yeah.
second. Like even 6 weeks later, they're like, "We don't do that anymore, Judgy McJudgy." Like, oh, sorry, I just was here with my cousin who had a baby like 8 days ago, and I thought you said to do that. Like, it's just, yeah, you're almost better with a blank slate mentally, and not because they're going to be different people, right? They even have different parts. You're having a little boy, so it's like just show me everything from scratch, and I'll do whatever you say. You didn't know the first time either, so. All right. Well, I've taken up heaps of your time today, and thank you for it.
it's fun. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
for giving me.
Good luck, ladies.
Yes. Best
Yeah,
of
cool.
luck. Show me all those babies. I want to see them. I don't want to have any more. I just want to grab them and sniff them.
I'll send him to you in the middle of the night.
When you're not going to be in it, you can do anything for a night. It's fine.
Yeah, true.
Awesome. All right, ladies, have a great afternoon. And I'll speak. Wasn't that such a great example of women coming together and sharing stories? I loved interviewing all of these ladies. I wish them all the best for their birth and fourth trimester and beyond. They are absolute proof and evidence that it is perfectly possible to have babies, have business, balance the lot. It will make you rip your hair out some days. It will make you feel like a superhuman other days. It is definitely a challenge. But if you are out there watching on YouTube or listening to this on Apple or Spotify, and you are curious as to whether or not you have the chops to do both, I guarantee you can. It does make you a better business owner. Having a business and everything that comes with that also makes me a better mother. So I just say go for it. Just do whatever you intend to do in your life. And as the girls have wisely imparted on us, it all works out in the end. Okay. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you next week on Designing Success. Bye for now.